Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 375 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. We're well into December now, fast approaching the Winter Solstice, that shortest day of the year. Then we're on the slow road back to spring and all the fun that the warmer weather brings us. But what's going on in our hives right now? Here's what I think. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. This week's podcast is brought to you, in part, by Hive Multi-Guard. So,
when you need a little peace of mind that your bees are safe from dangers of all kind, pesticides, hornets, wasps and mice are no match for Hive 5. The Hive 5 Multi-Guard is the best one in town. Keeps your bees safe all year round. The ultimate solution has been found. It's Hive 5.
The Hive 5 Multi-Guard fits nearly all beehives and makes beekeeping much easier. Hive 5.
Hi everyone and welcome to this week's podcast. Apologies to everyone listening anywhere other than Patreon. I appreciate that the conversation and the time of year gets a little bit out of kilter and you're probably wondering why I'm still talking about the approach to Christmas when for you guys this podcast is live in the new year. Could I suggest maybe a New Year gift to yourself of a year's subscription to my Patreon page? You'll not only get my podcast as it's released, but full access to the vast library of video content covering a huge range of beekeeping topics. For those of you already listening on Patreon, my continued thanks for your support, and here's to the final run-up to Christmas. Have you finished all of your Christmas shopping yet? I always leave it until the last possible moment. That's Christmas Eve normally, honestly. I don't have many presents to organise, so it's not that stressful really. I normally start with a coffee and almond croissant in Cafe Nero in Norwich city centre. So if you are local to me and fancy meeting up for a coffee on Christmas Eve, I'll be there around 8 o'clock in the morning. I usually meet up with my brother Gary, and we then amble around the city looking for those unusual last-minute gift ideas. We've still got a couple of weeks to wait for that, so it's something to look forward to. If you're still struggling to think of a Christmas gift idea to suggest to your other half, your mum and dad, or whoever it is that's continually asking you for gift ideas at this time of the year, maybe you could suggest a year's subscription to my Patreon page. Packed with a huge back catalogue of videos and podcasts, there's got to be something in there to help you on your beekeeping journey. Just a suggestion though, socks and pants are always a safe fallback. The next couple of weeks also sees the celebration of hitting the winter hump, or is it a dip? The 21st of December is what I'm referring to, the Winter Solstice, the point at which the sun is the furthest away from the northern hemisphere. This meaning is the start of the astronomical winter period and conversely, summer in the southern hemisphere. The Earth tilts, I'm sure you all know that, and it puts the sun at its lowest point on the horizon for us for, well, effectively the entire year. It's also the shortest day for us Northern Hemispherians. I'm not sure that that's a proper name, but it's descriptive enough. It's also the time of year when a lot of beekeepers will turn their thoughts to oxalic acid treatments, with a lot of them looking to get that task completed between Christmas and the New Year. I'm hoping to have all our colonies treated next week. We have everything planned, and with an extra pair of hands to help, we should get all 94 colonies treated the same day. It's still early, but I'm glad to report all 94 colonies have been seen flying and appear to be heading into the winter well stocked with food. I can gauge this because of regular hefting. Whenever I'm in an apiary at this time of the year, the first thing on my mind is popping round to the back of the boxes and hefting them. It's very quick and simple to do, and any major variation from the average weight of a hive can be further investigated. Thus far, though, we appear to be doing just fine. Having said, each time I'm in the apiary I do this, we had to be careful on Wednesday, as it was so warm the bees were out in their hundreds, flying at the entrances, out on toilet breaks, orientation flights, and probably gathering water. We do continue to have some incredibly mild weather for the time of year, and I must say I'm hoping it turns cold soon. Not that the forecast gives any indication of a properly cold period coming up in the short-term forecast. Doesn't look like it's going to be a white Christmas for us here in Norfolk. Should I be grateful it's mild? We certainly don't need to worry about having the heating on for long periods of time at home, but it does mean that any bugs and pests in or around the beehives are having an easy time of it too. I was interested to see that in Pennsylvania in the United States, this is where my youngest daughter lives, they've been having overnight temperatures of -14 and 15 degrees Celsius. Now that is cold. If our colonies got hit by those kinds of temperatures for a few days, it would surely help kill off some of those bugs. Perhaps of equal concern, and something for you to think about for maybe later in the winter, is the effect of the warm weather we have right now on food stores within the hives. Warmer weather must surely mean that bees are more active, and active bees have greater food requirements. And with no real forage around, that must mean they're having to eat their winter stores that they've set aside. Not a problem for most colonies right now, but give it a month or two and colonies could find themselves either running out of food or perhaps becoming isolated from those outer frames of food as they finally get some proper January and February cold weather and refuse to move from their small but valuable brood nest areas. But look, please don't panic right now. Okay, I know some of you will, but just relax a little, enjoy the run-up to Christmas, and I'll remind you all again in the new year. It is an issue. I've seen it in some of our colonies in the past. Some colonies are very frugal and won't need any additional food, but some will. January and February hefting is when we'll find out. Not to bang on about it, but that's why hefting now is so important. Set a benchmark weight and see how it changes into the new year. Okay, enough of my lecturing about hefting. The mild weather does bring with it some good news. It meant that there's no sign of any green woodpeckers in the apiaries right now. Long may that continue, even if it does get cold. But we will still be wrapping up hives in some sort of protection in due course. It's interesting to think about what might be happening in our beehives right now. There is such a change between spring, summer, autumn and winter activity and what colonies are doing to maximise their potential during each of those seasons. Right now, you have to maybe feel sorry for those adult workers that are occupying the hive. Maybe it's a little bittersweet lifespan that they have. Living for a much longer time than spring and summer bees, they can, if the weather is mild and dry, get out and forage on what little fare is out there for them, but for the most part, the days are short, the nights are long and cold, and they're stuck in the brood box trying to survive. There will still be housekeeping duties to consider, of course, feeding and taking care of what little brood there may be, but for the most part, it's a dark, cold existence away from the brood nest. Once we get the slightly longer days of late winter into February, the brood nest will begin to expand more rapidly, and the workload will no doubt ramp up for those bees that have survived through to that point. It does feel like a tough existence though, especially when you think of the hot, dry days of last spring and summer. If the bees are anything like me and Steph, there's a sweet spot temperature range of somewhere between 17 and 25 degrees Celsius before it gets too hot or starts to feel a little chilly once again. And of course, our spring and summer bees are without doubt far more active than the winter colony occupants. The downside of the deal, being that the spring and summer bees live only a fraction of the time of that given to the winter bees. So, housekeeping for most colonies is the order of the day right now, and if you have a Varroa board inserted, now is the time to get down to those hives and regularly draw it out and see what's going on inside the hive. These thin boards are not just for spotting Varroa mites. They're invaluable for giving all manner of information about the health of the colony within the hive. Each time you finish checking them, clean them down and pop them back in, and you'll be able to see the changes happening on a weekly basis. Might I suggest taking a photograph of the board each time and putting it up on your computer or TV screen to compare and contrast? You'll see a wide range of debris on that board, plenty of wax cappings, showing bees have been uncapping food stores, or maybe it's adult workers emerging from capped brood cells. Generally, I find food cappings are lighter than brood cappings, so there's something to look out for. You might see what appears to be a tunnel running through the wax debris, particularly if you haven't cleaned the board down for a few weeks. This will be the wax moth larvae, and a very good reason why you need to keep the board washed at all times. After a warm day or two, you might even see some pollen dropped onto the screen. Perhaps from a plant such as Mahonia at this time of the year, definitely worth a look under the microscope. And of course, keep an eye out for any Varroa mites that may have dropped too. This can guide you as to the effectiveness of your Varroa controls. Take your time, have a good look, clean it up afterwards and pop it back in for the next time. There is a lot of fun to be had with this simple task. Elsewhere, particularly at the workshop, we've been sifting through supers to find those that can go straight back out into the apiary locations to store for winter. We posted a couple of pictures on social media and have had several questions relating to what we do to manage our supers over the winter period. Well, it's pretty straightforward really. I split all of the supers into different categories depending on the condition of the frames at the time of storing, and we may treat them slightly differently based on that category. Fundamentally though, empty supers go straight out and are placed on a pallet with a metal queen excluder at the bottom, supers on top of the excluder with a roof on the very top. Stacks of 10 get strapped together onto the pallet to help prevent them from being blown over in strong winter winds. The same applies for any supers with foundation in. These are most likely left over from the poor summer where we thought we would need more supers than we actually did. Those with what I would call grade A drawn comb are likewise stacked in the same way as any empty supers. These grade A drawn combs are frames that have fully drawn comb that's been back on the hive to be cleaned down, and as a lot of beekeepers refer to them as dry frames or dry supers. When supers are placed back on a colony to be cleaned, the bees will literally clean out each cell until it appears dry. Sometimes they'll restore the honey in the centre frame of the super, but that can be removed and replaced with a frame of foundation or a frame of dried comb. Any frames in supers that have any pollen in whatsoever, I remove. These always seem to attract wax moth, and by the beginning of a new season, they're full of wax moth silk and need to be removed and destroyed anyway, so why wait and take the risk? As we head towards the less attractive frames, we find poorly drawn comb, damaged comb that's been damaged when extracted perhaps, frames with old comb that need replacing, and just about anything else that needs attention for one reason or another. These either go to be cleaned first or are destined for the bonfire. We've had a few of these this year. Whatever type of frame it is, once they're cleaned, they end up in a super and get stacked in the same way as the first A-grade frames and supers, 10 to a stack, sitting on a pallet with a metal queen excluder on the bottom and a roof on top, all strapped down against those heavy winter winds. Honestly, it would be lovely to have them inside a dry barn somewhere, but for me, that's just not a possibility. Leaving them out in the apiary gives them a chance to get some air and, with a little bit of luck, a really decent spell of icy cold weather to kill off anything lurking inside. The upside of doing this, of course, is that it leaves a nice big hole in the workshop that I can use as we move forward with our very latest project. More about that New Year's project, well, in the new year. We have some major changes ahead, and I'm excited to share those plans with you in due course. I hope you'll keep listening to the podcast on whatever platform you're using and follow me on my continuing beekeeping journey. Finally, our Bees on a Budget build phase is just about complete, certainly the part that's been filmed on camera. I do have to finish making the second hive and nail a second super together from hive number 1. Oh, then of course there are frames to be made, but that won't take long and we'll do that in the new year. The hives have gone together pretty well really, and I'm looking forward to getting some bees into them next spring. Well, that's it for this week. For all of you who haven't yet signed up to my Patreon page, I, together with Steph, have been creating beekeeping content for many years now. And if you're looking for some straightforward, down-to-earth tips and techniques, help and advice, then do take a look at my Patreon page. We have over 1,600 individual beekeeping posts, videos and podcasts filled with useful and timely help and advice. My approach is pragmatic and calm, sometimes entertaining, but always with help and support for beekeepers at the heart of what I do. I keep my videos short and concise wherever possible, no waffle, no flannel, just honest beekeeping advice from years of keeping bees. Take a look and join me for the new 2025 beekeeping season. It'll cost you less than a jar of honey. Head over to Google and search for Patreon and the Norfolk Honey Company.